Hello everyone, it's Kelly here, and today we are talking TBR for December 2021. I am super excited that we are in December. Here in Australia, things have been quite warm, shall we say. The weather is heating up a little bit, which is our typical December and typical Christmas time. So today I'm going to be sharing with you some of the books that I'm hoping to read, some that I really definitely should probably hopefully finish by the end of this month, because I've got a few TBR items from my kind of broader plans that just have not quite happened yet. So I have high hopes, and I'm also thinking about that week in between Christmas and New Year's, where I typically do get quite a bit of reading done. So I'm hoping that I'm going to try and do as much as I can in the lead up to Christmas, and then I'm going to be trying to get, to finish up, what's the expression I'm looking for here? To tie up loose threads. That's what I'm trying to think of. So that's my plan for this month. Let's have a chat about the books. Now, some of them I have mentioned before. We've talked about these, so I'm not going to speak at length about those ones because I've spoken about them on previous TBR videos, including I believe my November TBR. So if you want to hear more about those books, then you can obviously head back and check that video out. So let's start with the one that I am currently in the middle of, because I am definitely going to finish the Overstory this month. So this is by Richard Powers. I am a good way through. Sorry, that's the top, that's the bottom. So I would say I'm roughly about 2/3 of the way through this book. It is maybe even close to 3/4. It is slow going, I have to say, so far. So I've just kind of entered into the section called Crown, which I believe is the last section. It's kind of split up into, no, sorry, there is another section after it called Seeds. So yeah, it's split up like this. So you meet like all the people in this section called Roots, and you kind of hear their backstory. And then things kind of go a bit hectic in this bit called Trunk. It's kind of like how these people are starting to kind of intersect their lives, because previously they were not known to one another. They're not connected in any way. But all of the connections that they have are to do with trees. And it's also kind of looking at activism as well. That's kind of a really big focus of the book. And in this section, like, things have just gotten like to hectic levels. Now I'm into this section called Crown. So that's sort of where we're at with the Overstory. So far, I think I'm somewhat enjoying it, but it's not a 5-star for me yet. We'll have to just wait and see how everything kind of plays out, I think, before I make my final verdict, which, of course, okay, I don't know why I needed to say that, because obviously we'll wait till the end of the book and reserve our final judgments till then. Anyway, that is one I am definitely going to be finishing this month, hopefully in the next few days. So I'm listening to this one as an audiobook, which has helped me a lot, because I started out reading it on just in this edition, and I was finding myself falling asleep. And I don't think it's because the story was boring. I don't know, maybe it's been a busy month, and I'm, December is beginning to ramp up for me. I've been, writing my reports for my day job. I've sort of been doing all those wrap-up jobs that need to happen at the end of the year. And so I don't know whether it was a bit heavy going, and therefore I was just finding it hard to stay awake. So the audiobook has helped quite a lot, and I have been listening to it every chance I get, particularly in the car, but also at home while I'm doing other things, just to kind of keep kind of moving along with this book, because it's a chunky one. And it comes in just over 600 pages, I believe. 625 pages. So it's a big one. And I am pushing through, and I will get there. I will definitely get there. So that's my first one that I'm going to finish this month. I'm also going to be reading another Jane Austen book, and this month we are up to Northanger Abbey. So I'm working my way through the Jane Austens in publishing order. Last month I read Emma. This month it's Northanger Abbey, and then I've got one more to do in January, and I will be done with the set of 6 that were published in her lifetime, were completely written by her in her lifetime. There are other books as well, I believe, or a book that was finished by someone else. So I'm not including that one in this challenge that I'm doing at the moment, but I'm currently 4/6 of the way through, and will be 5/6 of the way through once I finish Northanger Abbey. And I am pleased we're on to the thinner ones, because the challenge was beginning to wear a little bit thin for me as we were sort of going on with some of those chunkier ones. Another book that I need to read before the end of the year, which I've spoken about previously and won't go too much into, is Kafka on the Shore by Murakami. I just need to get through this one. It's also a chunky one, not quite as chunky as the Overstory. It's 505 pages, so that's another one that I need to get through this month. Then we get to some other ones that I don't have a physical copy of. So in one of my book clubs for this month, I'm reading The Girl with the Louding Voice. So that's for my Reading Around the World book club. So I'm very excited about that. And then another book club that I'm a part of, we're reading The Reading List. So that's those are 2 more books that I'm planning on getting through this month. Now, I have acquired copies of these on audiobook because I feel like they're the type of book that I'm just going to want to kind of have going, have on the go in the background to be, driving to and from work and all of those kind of things as I'm just kind of getting through what is going to be a busy month. So I definitely want to kind of try and push those through on the audiobook, I think, just to kind of be kind to myself and also achieve my goals. So those 2 are going to be happening as well. Do I have? Oh, yes. And then I've also got 2 on my Kindle that I need to get through as well, which I have spoken about before. So that is How to Analyse People on Site, and also Things Fall Apart. So I'm reading both of those. I've already started How to Analyse People on Site, and I am not enjoying it, but I'm going to push through because that's part of my 1921 in 2021 challenge that I really want to get done. So I'm hoping that Things Fall Apart is going to be more enjoyable for me as well. All right, so then we're on to a couple of other books that I am hoping to that I need to get to. Actually, this is probably the last one that I absolutely need to get done before the end of the year. It's Tender Morsels by Margo Lanagan. Now, Margo Lanagan is an Australian author. I've spoken about this book before. I definitely need to get this one done before the end of this year, but I think it's going to be an enjoyable read, so I may leave this one till closer to the end of the month. We'll see how we go, because I think I'm going to just kind of want to sit with this after Christmas and just kind of get into the story of that one as well. Then I've got a nonfiction book. Now, I'm hoping to get to this one, but I'm also because this was one of the books that came up in the book spin. So I had, which I've spoken about. I'll link a video above where I spoke about the book spin. So this was book number 1 that is the have to, and this is the optional one. So I'm going to try and get to it. But if I don't, I'm definitely going to read this one in January when I head on holidays. And I'm reading Down the Coast, Listening to the Ocean. I can't wait. It's going to be amazing. So that's Joni Mitchell in her own words. Right. So those are the ones I have spoken about before, or are like essential reads in terms of my book clubs and so on. Then we get on to some other things that I'd like to get to before the end of this year. So I've got one that is a Christmas read that I'm quite keen on. So I recently acquired this particular copy, though I do have another copy elsewhere, and it's A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. I was so excited to find this because and it cost me $5. It's an illustrated edition, and the illustrations are just very gorgeous. there's sort of little ones, and then there's bigger full page ones as well. So yeah, can't wait to get to this. So what I'm planning to do for this one, and I'm kind of thinking that it might be one I read very close to Christmas time if I can get to it, is I've acquired an audiobook copy of it from my library. So what I'm thinking is I'll put the audiobook on and then just be flicking through while listening. That's what I'm hoping to do. So that's my plan. So that's A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Yeah. Oh, there's another thing. With a Christmas Tree. Illustrated by Robert Ingpen. Is that another story? It must be. Yeah, it is. It's a second story. I didn't even realize that. Yeah. Oh, so there are two. Okay, so there's two stories in this book. So that's exciting. So maybe we'll see if we can get to A Christmas Tree as well. That would be great. Yeah, but I'm really, really looking forward to A Christmas Carol. So I really hope I get to it this year because I have never read this before and I'm really keen. Then we come to the section of this video where I talk about the library books that I have optimistically. I've just realized as well, I've left some of my books behind. Please excuse me, I'm just going to collect them now. You think you have everything organized, and then it turns out you don't. Okay, then we get on to my optimistic books. So some of these I have very optimistically borrowed from the library, and then others are just books that I'm really interested in getting to ASAP. So I'm being pretty optimistic, I think, with this TBR. So one of them is The Rain Heron by Robbie Arnott. Now, I have spoken about this book before too. I'm very excited to get to this one. It's by an Australian author set in Tasmania, I believe. He's from Tasmania. And I read the first chapter of this book, or sort of a section of this book, in a video where I was reading, which I'll link, where I was reading about, I was just reading the first chapter of the book to see if I would be interested in the book, in putting it onto my immediate TBR rather than my kind of longer term TBR. And this was my favorite book of the books that I read in that video, that I really enjoyed that first chapter of. So this is The Rain Heron by Robbie Arnott. So I really would like to get to this one this month if I can. Again, what I've done is I've acquired an audiobook copy of it, and I'm thinking I might just read it with the audiobook like I'm going to do with A Christmas Carol. Then I've gone to my local library, which, just checking that I'm not going to, no, thankfully my local library thing is on the back rather than on the front. So this is a book called The Mercies by Kieran Millwood Hargrave. And this, I have to say, and I'll just cover just in case that shows up. When I saw the spine of this book in the library, it was literally just the spine that made me pull it out, because like, look at the gorgeous designs first of all, and also this font that they've used for the title. Anyway, it's so it's called The Mercies, and the thing that drew me when I pulled it out and read the synopsis of the book, I was like, yes, please. Sign me up right now. I am very, very keen to read this book. And I was talking to my husband about this afterwards as we were walking home. And I've heard people speaking about either keywords or like the setting of the book, or something in the synopsis of the book that is just like an always yes. And I have mentioned this before, that books that are either set in an abbey, or are in some way, it's like a community of women, particularly I'm talking about historical fiction here. It's a community of women who are really like independent, and also like religious persecution is like, that's my jam apparently, because every time I read these synopses, I'm like, yes, please sign me up. So let me tell you a little bit about The Mercies. So it says, on Christmas Eve, 1617, the sea around the remote Norwegian island of Vardø is thrown into a reckless storm. As Maron watches, 40 fishermen, including her father and brother, are lost to the waves. The menfolk wiped out in an instant. Vardo is now a place of women. 18 months later, a sinister figure arrives, summoned from Scotland to take control of a place at the edge of the civilized world. Absalom Cornet knows what he needs to do to bring the women of Vardo to heel. With him travels his young wife, Ursa. In Vardo and in Maron, Ursa finds something she has never seen before: independent women. But Absalom sees only a place flooded with a terrible evil, one he must root out at all costs. So this is apparently inspired by true events. So there really was a Vardo storm, and then there were the 1621 witch trials. So the Morsels is a story about how suspicion can twist its way through a community and a love that may prove as dangerous as it is powerful. So to me, like, that just ticks so many of my my boxes in terms of things that I really love to read about. So I had to borrow this book. So I'm going to try and get to it. It's due back. I think it's the 11th. Let me just check. The 11th of January. So it's due back on the 11th of January. So if I can read it by then, that'd be great. Otherwise I might have to extend my borrowing period on this one, because I definitely would like to get to it. And the last one that I've got here as a physical book is one that I've spoken about before as well. So I read another book by this author, Danielle Binks, called The Year the Maps Changed. And I spoke about that in a previous wrap-up video. It was a book I really loved, and I had no... it was unexpected for me. It's not something I'd heard much about, but I was very excited by that book. And then I realized I had purchased this book, not realizing it was the same author. So I said to myself that I needed to get to this one ASAP, put it right to the top of the TBR. But unfortunately, I've had these other books that are to do with some of my longer term year challenges that I need to get done. So I'm trying to be really disciplined and not go to this in the middle of doing that. But I'm very keen to get to this one called The Monster of Her Age by Danielle Binks. So I'll be very excited if I can get to this. Otherwise, this is definitely going to be read in January when I head down to my holiday destination. Then I've also... I know. It's too many books. I know. I've also borrowed some more audiobooks on my library app. So I've already said The Rain Heron and A Christmas Carol. But then I've also borrowed one called There Was Still Love, which I do actually have a physical copy of. And I don't know why I didn't pick that up to show you in the video. And then The Dry, which I also have why did I not get these books? The Dry and There Was Still Love. So I've got more books that I have physical copies of, but that I'm borrowing on the audiobook so that I can kind of read along or kind of alternate as I'm reading. So I got a lot going on this month. It's going to be busy, busy for sure. But I have some plans, some ambitious plans to get through this entire stack, plus some. That's really heavy. Oh, that's a lot of books. Okay, so that's my plan for December. I will be very lucky if I can get through even half of these books, if I'm honest with you. But I'm going to do my very, very best to get through them as quickly as I can, and with as much as many of these as I can. That's my plan. All right. Well, thank you so much for stopping by. It's been a pleasure having you here on my channel. Come anytime. Very keen to have you. And I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.